cell phone details emerge from the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial as a new cell phone analyst takes the stand. Electricity Minister Dr. Senzo gives an update on the implementation of the Energy Action Plan. And now reporters and shows zoom in on Transnet's crumbling rail infrastructure. I'm Heidi Jokos, and this is The Day That Was. A new witness, forensic analyst Mamshedi Masetla, took to the stand in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial on Monday. He's been talking the court through the samples taken from the murder scene and the DNA results received from them. ENCA senior reporter Slindelo Masikane has been following proceedings at the court.
Court proceedings resumed with Constable Sizwe Zungu concluding his testimony. A cell phone data expert was expected to be the next state's witness, but the defense objected.
This evidence of the cell phone evidence relating to Mohane and all other witnesses be paused at this stage up until such time when I am finished with the Section 205 records, so that I will be able to take proper instructions.
Each time we put a version to the witnesses that the states are calling, they come up with something new. Then come the next witness. We are also expected to put a different version from the first version that we would have put to the witness, on the basis of which we couched our defense based on the information that would have been available then, Madam. This prejudices the accused person's defense in their case, Madam.
State Prosecutor George Baloyi proceeded to lead evidence through a forensic expert on DNA samples collected from the scene, those who were in the house and the accused. A Scotch black, brown and white hat was found on the kitchen floor, which is said to have belonged to one of the alleged intruders. But according to the forensic expert,
there is a Scotch hat, and then on that particular Scotch hat that was found on the scene, that particular Scotch hat excludes the suspect.
However, Masetla has also stated that the XY chromosomes found in the hat could mean that it's DNA from more than one male or a mixture of male and female DNA. Masetla is expected to continue with his testimony on Tuesday. Slindelo Masikane, Pretoria.
South Africans have been experiencing lower stages of rolling blackouts for some time now. As much as this is welcomed, Electricity Minister Senzo says the country isn't out of the woods just yet. Power cuts are expected to decrease even further if plans to increase electricity generation are successful. I filed this report. The country is not out of the woods as yet when it comes to rolling blackouts, but we have been enjoying low stages of load shedding. The Minister of Electricity says all the hard work to eradicate blackouts is starting to pay off.
I must say that over the past 2 weeks or so, we have seen a significant and positive improvement in the generation capacity, and this is largely as a result of the work that our generation team, led by Mr. Ngumalo and the rest of the managers at the various stations, have been doing. It's also as a result of the work that has been done by the team at Eskom in ensuring that we are able to attend to issues of demand side. But this work, as we see that the intensification of load shedding is easing.
A huge challenge that Eskom still faces is the non-payment by municipalities. This has a dire impact on Eskom's liquidity and overall performance.
We know, as I sit here, that the municipalities are owing Eskom upwards of 64 billion rands, and that figure is increasing. At last count, year to date, the increase was over 4 billion rands, and there's no sign of that increase abating anytime soon. It's not made easier by the fact that municipalities are still confronted with a major problem of illegal connections. We do have certain parts of the country that remains in the dark, even outside the load shedding schedule when we have load shedding as a result of the failure of distribution infrastructure.
Kusile Power Station has still been dubbed the power station to potentially take the country out of load shedding. Due to the uncertainty and unreliability of generating units, it's not certain that load shedding will stay in lower stages. But for now, enjoy your lights being on for longer than usual. Heidi Jokos in Pretoria. Although Transnet has been facing numerous challenges affecting its operations and threatening the country's economic well-being, some experts say there's still hope for the parastatal to function if its challenges can be treated with urgency. According to the GAIN Group, Transnet is losing R1 billion a day and straining 5% of the country's GDP. Our reporter, Bulile Tweety-Jones, has more.
Transnet has been bleeding billions as a result of poor management and lawlessness. From the State Capture Commission extensively highlighting corruption at the parastatal to decaying infrastructure and the resignation of both Group CEO Portia Dabi and Freight Rail CEO Sizakele Mzimela days apart. These are just some of the issues crippling the state logistics company. The Chartered Institute for Logistics for Transport says Transnet can recover, but it'll take years.
Over the next 3 to 5 years, we can certainly see some turnaround happening. I don't think, even if now that the executives are leaving, if tomorrow, we bring in the best railway people in the world, it's still not going to be sufficient to turn things around, say within 6 months, within a short period of time. The problems are significant.
And despite these challenges, GAIN Group, which looks into trade and logistics, says the establishment of the National Logistics Crisis Committee is doing its bit in looking at matters related to addressing the crisis. It also says Transnet's new appointments following the stepping down of 2 senior CEOs may help turn it around.
What I've seen now, the acting leadership that's been appointed, there's Michelle Phillips. She's been appointed as the acting chief executive of Transnet. She's very competent. She's trusted. A lot of people that I know very well and whose opinion I trust says she's really, really a good appointment. And then I know Russell Baatjies, who's been appointed as the interim or the acting chief executive of the railway, also a hugely accomplished person. So today, I am very positive. We have a minister that's now taking this seriously. We have a president that's taking it seriously. We have good leadership in place. We just now need to fix the damage that has been done.
Some experts say the private sector should play a larger role in investing in Transnet, but these investments may take a while given the crumbling rail network and its effect on freight operations. Bulile Tweety-Jones, City Deep in Johannesburg.
Protests over water shortages are continuing to pop up across Gauteng. This time, residents of Crown Gardens and Robert Sham in south of Johannesburg blocked Xavier Street with burning tyres. Residents there have been battling water cuts for months. ENCA's Hloniam Mkulu has been tracking this story.
Yeah, Bredan, so already we are seeing signs that this afternoon is going to be a difficult one for motorists because they have had to be diverted off of the Xavier Street on-ramp to other ways getting to the Robertham Crown Gardens area because of these burning tyres and the protesters that are here. The SA Police Service is here and they are assisting with that diverting of traffic. But as you said, Bredan, this morning we were in the Jan Hofmeyer area, and there were protests over water because the community, they said they hadn't had water. And I'm told that the community here of Crown Mines, Robertham, they saw that protest this morning and they then decided to also take to the streets because they also haven't had a steady water supply. I'm told since July the water supply has been very erratic and sometimes non-existent, and at the moment they haven't had water for about 9 days, which is the longest stretch of this time. But there was a time when they didn't have water for about 21 days. And they say even before July, their water supply was still not great, but it was certainly better than what's been happening at the moment. They've had various meetings with councillors. They've been in talks with Joburg Water, with Rand Water. And the same thing that we heard this morning, that they keep going back. This ping pong basically between, for them, between Joburg Water and Rand Water in terms of what is happening.
After the break, we look at some of the most talked about anchor interviews featured on ENCA during the day that was. Welcome back to the day that was. I'm Heidi Jokos. The crumbling rail network and infrastructure in the country is having a negative impact on exports and in turn the economy. The mining sector is one of the hardest hit. But here is the burning question: who exactly stands to benefit from the destruction of the country's rail network? ENCA anchor Masego Ratlaga spoke to economist Davie Rood for his take on this.
And the impact on the mining industry is really, really huge. And the Minister of Finance is being affected by that as well, because his revenue is under tremendous pressure because of amongst that. And obviously those industries, especially mining and agriculture, is being affected. But that's not all. Many other industries are also affected, because if the trains don't work properly, then people start making use of alternative transport, like, for example, the trucks on our roads.
Yes.
And the trucks are destroying the roads as well. And the roads, as we know, are crumbling and falling apart, and we need to reinvest in the roads as well. So it is crucially important that we get Transnet back and up and running again.
And you know, a lot of people would say, who benefits from this? Is it the people in the trucking industry because they keep getting the contracts? Is it the people who are supposed to fix our roads and infrastructure for the trucks to use this? Who's benefiting from this? From the destruction of Transnet, that is.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting more and more skeptical of just about everything in South Africa. I will not be surprised, let me put it to you, that if there are some people at work within Transnet, like we know there are some issues within Eskom as well, so that could be a possibility. I've heard rumors of people that's got a reason why they don't want Transnet to work, because they have interest in the trucking industry, as an example. I've witnessed myself the kind of trucks on the roads in South Africa, and this is really, really good and big business in South Africa. I won't be surprised if there could be somebody that's got a certain interest in the transport industry, or trains not working properly. As an example, you mentioned some other infrastructure, like, for example, the roads, and people getting involved and supposed to be fixing the roads. The answer is, I just don't know. There are so many issues and things that are working incorrectly in South Africa that I'm getting worried about just about everything. And if you ask me what we should do about this, again, I don't really know what to answer on that one, because this is a typical example of what economists call the natural monopoly. It makes sense if something like this belongs to the state. So the state should actually provide for infrastructure like this. But the state is clearly not capable of doing this. So what is happening? The next step seems to me as if the private sector is going to get involved, and the private sector will sort of take over some of these concessions. And in fact, that is already happening.
Cash and transit officials will be looking to Brazil to discuss possible ways to reduce the recent spike in the crime. A South African delegation is expected to visit that country this week. There has been 249 heists this year, a massive 30% increase compared to last year. ENCA senior reporter Desan Thathia spoke to the Cash and Transit Association of South Africa.
Cash and transit heists have always been a problem in South Africa, but there's been a noticeable spike in the past few weeks. The most recent incident taking place on the N12 in Johannesburg, and before that in Durban. There were several incidents in the past week. On Friday, the SAPS in KZN had responded and ended up shooting dead 4 suspected CIT robbers at a house in KwaMashu. They say that there is still some way to go before they apprehend all of them. So what's being done about this trend? Let's bring in the Cash and Transit Association of South Africa's Grant Clark. Mr. Clark, thanks for joining me. Let's perhaps paint a picture of where we are right now. I know we've all been saying there's a spike, but let's put that into numbers.
Yeah, Nadesan, thank you very much for the opportunity. So we are really concerned from an association perspective in terms of the numbers we see. So year to date, we're sitting on about just over 250 incidents. Month on month, for the month of October, we see around about a 30% increase. Year-to-date increase from comparing with last year, we're sitting at about 8% increase in terms of the number of crimes. So extremely concerning, that we see the spike. We're coming into the festive period, which starts at the beginning of November, runs through to the middle of December. And normally over that period, we also see a spike in CIT robberies. So extremely concerning for us, and also the violence around that it's horrific.
If this has been going on for so long, why have there not been measures put into place to counter the modus operandi that criminals are using? How far have we gotten then as an industry to beat these criminals?
Yeah, look, the industry has spent a lot of money and are spending a lot of money in development of their vehicles, training of their staff. Unfortunately, when you look at these incidents, these criminals are getting access to explosives, and that's the concerning part. They just bring more explosives. You build a stronger vehicle, they bring more explosives. You've seen some of these explosions taking place where the shrapnel is shooting up 20, 30, 40 meters into the air. It's like a guillotine coming down. We're just very lucky that nobody else is injured. So we are working towards apprehending these people. Explosives is a big problem, and the criminals getting their hands on these explosives.
Just this past weekend, robbers cornered and blew up a cash transport vehicle on the N12 near Diepkloof, Soweto. ENCA anchor Tumelo Motutwane spoke to Yusuf Abramji, Crime Watch host and anti-crime activist, in studio for more analysis.
What happened this past weekend?
Good morning, Tumelo. Crime, crime and more crime. Let me give you a quick update. 253 cash-in-transit robberies since January up to this morning. The last few days of October, we had 13 attacks on cash vans, some of them in broad daylight, like we've seen in the N12 on Saturday, like we've seen in Garankuwa, north of Pretoria. 22 security guards have been killed. 121 have been injured. Also, 12 members of the public have been gunned down, 2 policemen injured, and at least 22 other civilians killed in these attacks. So what we are dealing with here is a full-scale war, brazen highway robberies in broad daylight, and these robbers are getting away with millions and millions of rands. And despite the police making some inroads, 19 suspected robbers killed in Makado a few weeks ago. We had 4 in KwaMashu the other day. In Gauteng, there were a few breakthroughs. These gangs are still continuing and they are causing mayhem.
What's the role of the civilians here as well? Because even with the N12 cash and transit robbery, we saw people crossing a highway just to get some money on the road.
That has become a very, very worrying trend. Yeah. Whenever there is a major cash in transit house, or even a smaller one, these members of the public surge forward, they go for whatever cash is left behind. What they are doing is, number one, putting their own lives at risk, because we've seen, while the gunfire is continuing, while the bombs are going off, they're running towards the cash vans. Secondly, they're contaminating the crime scenes, which means that the leads, the DNA that the police need to pick up there is destroyed. And thirdly, police have made a few arrests, but very few. And I think that trend, and I spoke to the CIT Association of South Africa, I spoke to Fidelity, one of South Africa's largest cash carriers, and they are really concerned about this trend, about members of the public coming forward. It's a free-for-all.
Yeah. Stay tuned to The Day That Was. More top stories and interviews right after the break. The Western Cape High Court has overturned the findings of the 1970 inquest into Imam Abdullah Haron's death in police custody. Judge Daniel Tulare ruled apartheid security police tortured Haron to death. The initial inquest found that he sustained fatal injuries after falling down a flight of stairs. ENCA reporter Kevin Brunt has more.
An emotional Haron family following the court judgment overturning an initial inquest that found no one can be held responsible for their father's death.
The security branch of the South African police are held accountable for the acts and omissions leading directly to the death of Imam Haron, Abdullah Haron. The officers primarily responsible for brutality torturing the Imam to death are 1. Lieutenant Colonel Karel Johannes Freysen-Pienaar, who was an officer in charge of the security branch, SAP Cape Town since August 1969. He died on 5 July 1990.
A record of the security branch police officers' conduct will be forwarded to the Provincial Director of Public Prosecutions to map the way forward.
As regards the roles of Johannes Hendrik Hanekomberger, Sergeant Petrus Jacobus Rademeyer, who died on 27 September 2015, Captain Peter Louis Malan, who died on 1st July 1982, and Sergeant Smith, whose date of death is unknown, and the prosecutor J.S. van Graan. The matters are referred to the DPP for a decision.
For the Haron family, the ruling has brought some comfort, but they wish all parties responsible for their father's murder could have been criminally charged.
If only we could have prosecuted each of those murderers who basically died, and in one case, as we had heard, the date is unknown. But be that as it may, I think it has brought some sort of solace to our hearts that we were always correct. But we also hope that it will give courage to other families that they will find the same.
The Haron family say they will now focus on completing the biography of their late father. Kevin Brandt, Cape Town.
Staying in the Western Cape, police have registered another deadly weekend. 10 people were shot dead in separate incidents in Haynes Park and Hout Bay. 6 of the people were killed on Saturday and Sunday, and police believe the shootings are gang-related. ENCA's Nobusutu Hejana reports.
At least maybe if he was sick or something else, that would have been understandable, but it's so sad that he was shot, and it pains a lot because we don't know why, but the death has affected us so much.
Leah Singini says her family is still shocked following the murders that claimed the lives of her brother-in-law and 3 other Malawi nationals. She says she found out about the deaths on Sunday morning as she was preparing for church. As police are still investigating the motive, she says the family is living in fear. Community leader Pamela Sofika says she believes the gunman is also a Malawi national, as all 4 men were drinking at this shack on Saturday evening when another male entered the house, and shortly after there was a commotion and shots were fired moments later.
The community at large, including myself, who are very concerned. There is no police visibility here in this place. Not. If there is on other times, they never come to this section. This section where I lead mostly, that's where a lot of weapons are.
Sofika says this isn't the first mass killing in the area, as 4 other people were killed in Hout Bay last month, and the police are yet to make any arrests following that incident. In Haynes Park, where 6 people were killed over the weekend, one community activist is calling for the intervention of the South African Defence Force in the Cape Flats.
Police is doing a lot. Law enforcement is doing a lot. Metro Police is even also on board now. But what I can say is that we really need assistance from the army guys, really. Because I know they're also getting paid. There's not a lot of work for them, but they can come and work here and assist us.
Police say investigations are underway.
Detectives attached to the Serious and Violent Crimes Unit have taken in 2 suspects for questioning regarding the triple murder that was perpetrated in Haynes Park on Saturday evening in Cornflower Street, where 3 males were shot and killed. These 2 suspects will make a court appearance in Athlone once they have been charged. Yesterday afternoon, 3 more victims were shot and killed, also in Haynes Park and Rue Street, and the circumstances surrounding the case are still being investigated. We have reason to believe that the 2 cases could be linked, and we are not excluding the possibility that it's related to gangsterism.
Western Cape Community Safety and Police Oversight MEC Regan Allen is calling for the urgent restructuring of the current police ratio.
We need crime intelligence to be ramped up so that these murders can ultimately be prevented, but also the skilled policing resources that we have seen in those areas where those murders have occurred.
Police are pleading with residents to assist with information that may lead to arrests. Nobusutu Hejana, Cape Town.
And that wraps this edition of The Day That Was. From myself and the fantastic team, have a great week ahead.